Alright, like I said, I have a problem. Hi everyone, my name is Katrina Walls from Oliphant, and if you haven't been here before, I am a knitting teacher and designer, and I live in Sydney in Australia. So it's lovely to see you all. And so I'm here today because I have a bit of a problem. Two problems actually. So the first problem is that my yarn has sort of exploded in amount. It hasn't actually exploded. I have a lot more yarn than I used to. So I'm pretty good at not impulse buying stuff, except when I go to craft fairs. And once I'm at a craft fair, especially a yarn related one, I have no impulse control. So here's part of my problem. It's an excellent problem to have, but that yarn is all stuff that I have bought in the last couple of months because there were a couple of really cool craft fairs that happened here in Sydney. So that is now my stash of sweater quantities of hand-dyed yarn. So there's all this, and then if we go over to my cupboard where all the yarn is meant to be stored. So if you hear about a year ago, I actually set all of this like yarn storage up, but it started spilling out over here. And then that box up there is about 16 skeins of 10 ply yarn that I wanted to give away. And then there's even more hidden in the rest of the cupboard, but we're not going to talk about that. The other problem that I'm having right now is that in Sydney, we went through a really long lockdown at the end of last year. And so I put on a little bit of weight, which I think I've talked about before on the channel, but it's not really a problem. I don't mind so much, except for the fact that a lot of my clothes don't fit anymore. So I figured that the best way of solving both of these problems is to just make more clothes. Because I watch people and they have these like wardrobes full of hand knit jumpers and sweaters, and I've knit a lot of t-shirts or like strappy sort of tank tops, but I don't have a lot of jumpers, especially not thinner or lighter weight ones, because when I lived in New York, I knit a lot of heavier weight jumpers, but not a lot of 4-ply or like fingering weight ones. So I thought that I would give that a shot. So what I wanted to do today is first off show you how I chose which patterns I actually wanted to knit, because I was actually quite intentional this time about sort of curating a collection, because I have enough yarn that I could actually sort of decide intentionally what I wanted to make and have as a wardrobe, as opposed to just individual patterns that I felt like knitting. So I'm going to show you how I chose all that, and then I'll show you which patterns I actually chose and which yarn I'm going to use for them. And then I will draw my giveaway winner. So if you've been around here for a little while, you'll know that I ran a big giveaway at the beginning of this month. And so I'm going to actually draw the winner today. So if you just want to see that, then skip ahead. But you should stick around for the rest of the video because it's pretty fun. So I will warn you, I'm about to take you onto Ravelry and show you how I chose my patterns there. So if Ravelry is something that's not accessible to you, if even looking at screenshots or videos of it is going to make you feel ill, then skip to this timestamp right here. And other than that, let's go. Okay, so here we are in Ravelry, and I'm going to show you how I find patterns for yarn that I don't really have ideas for, that I just have the yarn and I want to make something out of it. So the example we're going to use first is this yarn here. It is a sock yarn from Saltbush Skeins, and it is a 4-ply, and I know I have 1600 meters of it. So those are the parameters I have. So what we're going to use is the Ravelry filters. So if we go into patterns and hit advanced search, now there is a difference between typing text into this box here, like saying jumper, because that doesn't really show you a whole lot of stuff. You can type in sweater because it is an American site and that gives you more. But what is actually better is if you use these filters here to the left. So these are all the things that designers have tagged their patterns with on Ravelry. And if you use these instead of just searching for text, it gives you a lot more control over the search results you get. So I'm going to show you the filters that I use the most. So first off, I usually start by filtering down by weight. In American terms, 4-ply is fingering weight. So if you start typing things and there's a filter for what you want, this box pops up here. So I'm going to choose fingering. If you don't know the precise details of what you want, you can start searching for categories. So if you say weight like this, it will show you all the options it has for that particular filter category. Okay, so we're going to choose fingering. If you don't know your American yarn weights and you're in the UK or in Australia, I do actually have a handy yarn weight chart that converts between all of them. So I'll link to that down below. So now we filter down to our 4-ply patterns, and this is a bunch of stuff, but I know I want to make a cardigan. So on Ravelry, the filter that you want for types of things is called category, and they show you the most popular options here. But if nothing's showing up for what you want, so I want a cardigan and that's not here, you can scroll down to the category filter. So if you go here, jump to a filter and you say category, it'll shoot that to the top for you. And then I'm going to say clothing and sweater, and then cardigan is hidden in the sweater category. You can also just start typing in here and hope cardigan. So that just showed up, so that's a lot easier. So I'm going to choose cardigan. All right, now this is showing baby stuff. So let's try going size, and the size category on Ravelry has pretty broad categories. It's not like size small or size medium. It's like adult, baby. So I'm going to choose adult. All right, so this is looking more like it. Now, I don't want to color things. So there is actually a filter for colors. So if you say colors used, just make sure you don't put the U in colors if you are in the UK or in Australia. And so I just want 1. Okay, cool. And so at this point, there are still 1,000 matches, but usually when it gets down to about 1,000, I just start browsing around the top. It does still appear to be showing baby things, but usually if that's still showing up, even when you've put the size category in, it's because there are adult sizes for that pattern, even though it's showing you the baby ones. Oh, the last thing I normally filter by actually is yardage or meterage. So if you use metric, there is a meterage function filter. And if you use imperial, there's a yardage filter. These categories or like buckets that they give you are pretty broad. So I know I have 1,600 meters. So if I go meterage over here, so I usually just use this customized filter. So I'm going to say about 1,400 to 1,600 just to give myself a bit of wiggle room. So I know I don't want buttons. I don't really want lace. So this looks good. And this looks good. So I do like the look of this one better because I like the texture and stuff. And the sleeves are short, but I think I'll have enough yarn to make them longer. Because, spoiler alert, I've looked this up already. And if you look down here, she gives you the schematics. And I'm pretty sure I need to make them medium. And so I need, it says 300 grams, but I have 400 grams. So I should be okay. Okay, the other thing that I do is sometimes I have a specific type of pattern in mind. So I have been wearing my Carbeth jumper a lot this winter. And the things that I like about it are that it's quite thick and it's very cropped because I like wearing it with my skirts. And I like that it has a high neck because this way I can just wear it as my outermost layer with a shirt underneath. And that's enough for me. So I do have this 8-ply yarn, which is what I used for Carbeth. And I know that I held it double for the jumper that I made. So I want to do something similar. I would like something that is 8-ply held double. Now, Ravelry does have a held double filter. So if you start typing in DK, yeah, see here where it says yarn held together, but it doesn't really work very well at the moment. So I don't like using it. But what I will do with this is that I know from my Carbeth that I got about 13.5 stitches to 10 centimeters for my gauge. So I'm going to search based on that. So if you type in gauge, I'm going to choose 10 centimeters and it gives you this little box and you can say 11 to 14. So I'm going to do this to give myself a little bit of wiggle room in case I want to change my needle size. Okay, and then again, I want this time a sweater, not a cardigan. And cardigan is inside the sweater category, so it does still show cardigans, but we can just ignore those. And the other thing that I think I want is a cable. So there is a category or like a filter for cables, that's nice. All right, and then from here you just browse again. So we've got about 2,000 matches, which is usually the point at which the results are good enough that I like to just start browsing. So I do know that I want a highish neck. So this looks sort of high. This one looks interesting. I like the look of that cable. What else is there? Oh, I like the look of this. It looks nice and simple. I think I'm in the mood for something sort of simple. Okay, and so the last step that I've been doing is putting all of the patterns together and trying to see what they look like as a whole, because I have enough things on my queue and enough yarn at the moment that I would like to see what it looks like as a wardrobe put together, as opposed to just individual jumpers. So what I've been doing is I've been going to the pattern page. So which one do I like the best? I think I like this one actually. It's really pretty. And I think I'll be able to crop it because it looks like a pretty simple jumper or like pattern repeat to just sort of cut off at the waist. So what I've been doing is I've been going into the projects and trying to find someone who's made it in roughly the color that I'm going for. So right now I have this pink color, so I'm going to look for something that's pinkish. I'm trying not to be too precious about it. I just want a general vibe. So pink, 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 light pink. This is light pink. Let's see if she has any pictures of the overall jumper. Cool. So she has added a giant neck, but that's okay. I don't mind so much. I can just use the picture as an idea. And so I am just taking these pictures. So I'm not going to make this thing that I'm about to show you public because I don't own any of these pictures really, but I'll show them to you quickly here. Okay, so what I've been doing is, this is a website called Trello, which is, full disclosure, a company I used to work for. I'm pretty sure you could do this on Pinterest if you wanted to, but I don't like Pinterest personally for various reasons. So what I've done is I've made, they call them cards on Trello. I've made this column of cards and I've written down all of the yarns that I have. So this is the Knit Craft and Knittery one. And I'm typing in the name of the pattern that I think I want to make, Down East. And then I'm attaching the picture, and that actually puts it on this card here. And so now, because I have all of these pictures that are in vaguely the color of the yarn that I want to make the jumpers out of, I have an overall sort of view of what these are all going to look like as a whole. It has been really helpful because I had a couple of options that I initially wanted to do with all the different jumpers, and I realized that I had a lot of like sort of very fine cabley circular yokes, and so it was really good seeing them overall, because even though I liked all the patterns individually, it was just going to be too much of the same thing in my wardrobe. So it was really helpful to break everything down and then see it from like a bird's eye view. So I'm going to take you through what all these projects are and the yarn that I'm going to make them in, because I think that it's just fun seeing what's in people's knitting queues. All right, like I said, I have a problem. This is all the yarn that I'm trying to plan for. I haven't actually put it all out all together before, and it's both intimidating and embarrassing when it's all piled up like this. I'll just talk quickly about the yarn and why I like it, and then what I'm planning on making with it, and I will put links to everything in the description box down below. Okay, so we'll start off with the two that you already know about. So this yarn here is by Knitcraft and Knittery, who don't actually operate anymore, so I'm really glad that I got this before they went out of business. And it is an 8-ply non-superwash Australian merino, and this is in the colorway Missy Z, and I am making Down East. I already told you I liked it, so we will move on. This yarn here that I was searching for a cardigan for is from Saltbush Skeins, who unfortunately is also going out of business. She's a hand dyer in New South Wales in Australia, and I found out about her because I was at a yarn store and I saw the skeins and I was like, ooh, that's beautiful, maybe I'll get that at some point. And then I realized that that was literally the last batch of yarn she was ever going to produce. So I figured I should buy some. So the funny thing about this is that the Mayama cardigan, I'm going to pronounce so many things wrong, but the Mayama cardigan, which is what I'm going to make with this, I initially had a different yarn in mind for it, but because it is some sort of honeycomb brioche, I think, it uses up more yardage than a regular jumper in my size does. So I got 4 skeins of this so that I could make that cardigan. And this cracks me up. It's called Melted Bubbalo Bill. And if you're not from Australia, that will probably not mean much to you, but I will put a picture of what a Bubbalo Bill is up here on the screen. It's a type of just sort of really crummy ice cream that you eat as a kid. It's playing a lot on the nostalgia value. So that's what I'm going to be making with this yarn here. Okay, next up, I have this skein of mohair. Now, if you've been here for long enough, you'll know that I'm a little skeptical of mohair, but I did mention in my mohair video that I would be interested in making a top that had like a panel of mohair in it. So I found the Poison Apple top by Lily Kate Makes, and it's got this nice puffy sleeve and it has a sheer mohair panel. And it's also in 8-ply. And I had a bunch of this Bendigo Wool & Mills yarn left over from when I was making Christmas stockings, and it was just enough to make the top. So what I did is I talked to my friend Mel, who runs 3 Cats Yarn, and she hand dyed some mohair for me to match the yarn that I already had, and it turned out really nicely. Now, if you've been watching my podcast for a bit, you know that I'm also making a Daphne top by Friday Knits, and I was worried that they would seem a little bit too similar, but they are quite different at the end of the day. They both have puffy sleeves and they're both 8-ply, but the Daphne top has a very different neckline and the sleeves are a bit more dramatic, so I think they'll serve different purposes, and they're very different colors, so that's good too. Next up we have this yarn here from Birdhouse Fibers. She is also an indie dyer from, I think from New South Wales, but I'm not sure, somewhere in Australia. This is in the color Whitewater, and I am a sucker for any yarn that has silk in it, basically. So this is 75% superwash merino and 25% silk, so I just couldn't go past it. I have some old jumpers that I really like that are very lightweight and very sort of like close fitting, and they're getting a little older, so I want to replace them. So I'm going to make a summer sorrel and just make it long sleeved. And I think that the little V's on the yoke will offset the variegation really nicely. All right, what's next? So let's go with the Glenhaven. So this is more silk. Like I said, I'm a sucker for anything with silk in it. So this is also 75 merino wool and 25% silk, but it is DK weight, so 8 ply. I am going to be making an ayami. I don't know how to pronounce it. I saw this pattern on Instagram and I was instantly like, yep, that's going in the queue. But it does use 10 ply yarn. But I went and looked on the project pages and lots of people had made it out of 8 ply. So I'm going to give it a shot. I'm hoping that I can get gauge and the material looks nice still. So fingers crossed we can make that work. Otherwise I'll just adjust the gauge and see how it is. So that's my plan. I'm very excited about this jumper. The last two patterns are actually patterns I went looking for yarn for, not the other way around. So these are both patterns that I tech edited that I was like, yeah, I want to make that after I edited it. So the first one is a pattern called the Irene Sweater. It is by Cable Story, so Amanda. And this is literally her first design. I cannot get over the fact that this is the first thing she designed. I've never designed anything this complicated. Well, no, I've designed maybe one thing this complicated, but this is literally her first design, and it's freaking me out that she started here because it's amazing. So again, I went and talked to Mel from Three Cats Yarn. This is her twisty sock base, and the color is called Marvelous. But yeah, look at the speckles. Isn't that pretty? And the last massive pile of yarn I have is yarn I won in a giveaway, actually. So this is Swish Worsted from Knit Picks. I was a little skeptical of the fact that it's brown because this is not really a color that I use that much, but I decided I wanted a big sort of oversized cardigan, and I had just tech edited the pattern for Pass the Honey, which is a big oversized cardigan designed by Joy Friedman. This is also one of her first designs. So man, these designers who are coming out with these beautiful things for their like first or second design. I'm getting some serious imposter syndrome, but anyway, it's beautiful. So I'm going to make it out of this, and I figure it'll be okay that it's this brown color that I don't use a lot. Because it's an open cardigan, I can wear stuff underneath it, and that way it won't just be like this giant blob of brown like it would be for a jumper. So yeah, those are all my plans. It's a lot of yarn. I don't know what I want to start with because we are actually going to America for 2 months and it's going to be summer there. So we're missing most of winter. So I think I'm going to start with one of the 4-ply jumpers or cardigans. So if you have an opinion, please let me know in the comments what you think I should start with, because I'm getting a little overwhelmed with the options. Okay, and the last thing I need to do is draw the giveaway winner. So I used to draw my giveaways by writing everyone's name down and cutting out little pieces of paper and putting it in my yarn bowl and drawing out a name. But so many of you commented, oh my gosh, guys, I can't even explain how lovely it was to see all of your comments. Because there's something very abstract about seeing a subscriber count and a view count on a YouTube video. They just look like numbers. And people do comment on my videos here and there, so thank you so much to all of you who comment regularly. But for those of you who don't, it's totally fine. I know what it's like. Like, I never comment on YouTube videos either, even if I really like the person making the videos. But the fact that a lot of you were like, oh, I've been here for ages, I really love your stuff, it was just really encouraging. Like, it was so encouraging. So thank you to everybody who left a comment, because it was lovely just to hear from you all and to know that people are out there actually watching these videos. So yeah, thank you so much. So I'm going to actually draw the prize on my computer, and I will figure out how to just sort of random shuffle everyone's comments and draw a name. So I'll put video of that up here on the screen. So congratulations to the winner. Please do either Instagram message me, I am at OliphantCat, or just email me directly. I'm cat@oliphantcat.com. I will put that in a comment at the top of the comments list. Yeah, and let me know how I can get all of this stuff to you. So I'm very excited to give away this box of goodies. And again, thank you to everyone who's been here watching. I really, really do appreciate you all, even just knowing that you're there. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Thanks very much for coming along on this very strange journey with me. Hopefully you learned a little bit about how to use Ravelry or how to find projects. So if you'd like to follow along with my progress as I attempt to knit all of this, the best thing to do is to follow along with my podcast. The next episode should be up in a week or two, so hopefully I'll have cast on at least one of these. And if you have an opinion on which one I should cast on first, please let me know. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you can hit the subscribe button right here and press the little notify bell so you see when the next podcast episode is up. And if you would like to catch up on podcasts before then there's a playlist of all of the past episodes right here. Until then, I'm Kat from Oliphant Cat, and happy knitting!